I want to share a story with you about how I completely transformed my life from somebody that felt like I had no choices, no power, and no ability to control my life or my future to someone who built a business literally out of their imagination and who lives a life according to following her intuition and her joy every single day. My name is Amanda. I'm a coach and a trance channel, and I help clients claim the life that they deeply desire, create it, and live it. I was listening to this podcast, and this girl was talking about how she built a life out of her imagination, and she decided what she wanted and she just created it, and that was actually possible. Like, you could build a life that you want. And I remember thinking to myself, that's not true. How is that possible? Like, I can't just do whatever I want. There are rules, there are limitations, there are boundaries. Like, there's no way that that's truly possible. But for whatever reason, that stuck with me. And I remember thinking to myself, if I don't start my own business, I'm going to regret it. Like, I know what's on the other side of continuing to look for a job, but I don't know what's on the other side of this. And worst case scenario, it doesn't work out and I can go find another job. And I was working as a personal trainer and nutrition coach at the time. And so I built this beautiful gym in my basement and started training clients down there. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm doing this, like, I'm running my business, I'm doing this thing. And it just felt so empty. I remember thinking to myself, like, I I thought this was what I wanted. I wanted to own my own company and work on my terms and set my rates and do things how I wanted. Why does it not feel good still? And I asked myself the really, really hard question that I was avoiding, which was, what do you really want? What do you really want? And the truth was that I didn't want to own a brick and mortar business. I wanted to work remotely. I wanted to be able to have the freedom to move around and travel and not be tied down to a physical location. And the other truth of it was that I had been working in fitness for 15 years and I was so bored. I was bored and I didn't love it anymore. But this was really terrifying because here I was again faced with this crossroads where I could keep doing what I was doing because it was familiar. I knew it was working. Or I could explore doing something new that I'd never done before, but I didn't know what that would be because I didn't have any other skills. I didn't know anything other than fitness. It's what I went to school for. It's what I studied and it's what I knew. I didn't know how to do anything else. How was I supposed to build the life that I want without knowing what was involved in that, what it would be? I needed to know what it was going to be first before I could start taking action towards it. And the message behind this video today is that that's not true. You don't have to know. You just have to follow the feeling that lights you up. So I started small. And the first thing that I knew that I wanted, the thing that I knew that I wanted, was I wanted to work remotely. So I asked myself, how can I make that happen? Well, nutrition coaching. I could do that remotely. I don't need a physical location to be able to do that. I can start doing that online. And that's when I did. And I started finding clients online and doing nutrition coaching online. And all of a sudden, I was making money coaching online. And I realized I could close down my gym. And so I did. And I knew that I didn't like nutrition coaching. It was just what I could do at that time to work remotely. And I had to figure out what I wanted. I just didn't know what it was yet, but I decided to trust that I would figure it out. I started to realize that the part of nutrition coaching that I actually really enjoyed was the deep, meaningful conversations about life, about interests, about fears, about doubts, like the deep emotional work that my clients were a little bit afraid to do, but when we would talk about it, would make a really big difference. So I decided to follow that. And I started looking for courses where I could learn more about that and explore that a little bit more the psychology component versus the nutrition component. At the same time, I was going through a spiritual awakening, and I was taking a psychic development course to try to find out, like, am I psychic? Can I tap into my psychic ability? And I started to find this deeper connection with myself and my spirit guides, and I started meditating, and one thing led to another, and I knew I wanted to pivot my business in a direction away from fitness and helping people work on, their emotions and how they're feeling, and exploring that from maybe a spiritual perspective. But I didn't know how to fit all that together. And I met this girl who happened to be a life coach, and I hired her, and I started exploring my own emotions and how I felt, and my deepest fears and desires and doubts, and who I am at the most fundamental level. And clarity just started coming, and I realized I wanted to build a business to help people gain clarity on what they want and open up a life of spiritual connection and connection to themselves. And one thing led to another, and here I am. Your spirit guides and your soul and me, we all want you to know that following your intuition is not going to look like the full picture. Following your intuition is just following that really small nudge, voice inside of you that's telling you that something doesn't feel right, and that's calling you in a specific direction. And it's going to feel so uncomfortable because you're not going to know where it's leading you. But that's where trust in the universe and you comes from. Trusting that it's going to guide you to where you really want to go. Sometimes you might need to hire somebody to help you with that. And that's what I help people do is create that clarity for themselves on where they want to go, or how to take those first few steps and work through the fear and self-doubt and limiting beliefs associated with doing that. But the main message I have for you today is to just ask yourself the one question. So what do I want right now? What is one thing that I really want? And start taking one action at a time, following that nudge. What do I want? What do I want? And I promise you, it's going to lead you in a direction that you could have never created on your own. And trying to see the full picture in front of you is too overwhelming, and it's also limiting. The idea that you have in your mind about what you might want is sometimes not as grand as what's actually in store for you, or what could be in store for you, because you might not know the full potential that's truly available to you. And if you try to anticipate what that might be, you're actually limiting yourself without knowing it. Trust the universe, trust your guides, trust your soul to guide you. The only thing that you need to know is what calls to you.